Welcome to Biology 182 Evolution series. This video is about the various types of natural selection. At the end of this video, students should be able to identify the principles of evolution by natural selection, in addition to the types of selection. Selection depends on a heritable trait being present with at least two options for the trait being expressed. There is one trait expression or phenotype that is favored over the other, which leads to a selective advantage. This advantage allows those individuals expressing the trait to survive longer and reproduce more often than those without it. When an organism has an increased chance of living to reproductive age and passing on its genes to the next generation, over time it will lead the population to adapting to the environment. This is because more of the genes that are desirable are found in the population than those that are less desirable. In the image, you can see green and brown stick bugs. Those with the green coloring blend into the leaves, where those with the brown coloring blend into the sticks. In an environment with green leaves and green stems, the brown stick bugs will not survive as long and may not reach reproductive age. This means they will have less offspring represented in the next generation. This will shift the number of bugs in the subsequent generations to more green individuals. The selective advantage in this environment is for the green phenotype over the brown, so the green stick bugs are better adapted to their environment. Over time, those green bugs, which are better suited to the environment, will continue to be selected for, shifting the allele frequencies to evolve over time. The organisms with this desirable trait advantage are said to have better or higher reproductive success than those without. They are better suited or better adapted to the environment in which they live. Therefore, they will survive longer and reproduce more often, giving the individuals that have the trait a better chance of finding a mate. As well, being more attractive to mates, like male birds with their colorful large plumage, or being stronger, like with lions defending their pride, enhances the reproductive success of the organism. Fitness is a numerical value or quantitative measure of reproductive success. In other words, if reproductive success is the chance that an individual will survive and reproduce to pass on its genes to the next generation, then fitness is the percent chance of survival given a specific genotype. Remember that phenotype is the physical expression of the trait. It is often visible, like blonde hair, blue eyes, or freckles. To find an organism's fitness, we use the genotype, so the actual allele letter combination. For example, homozygous dominant, big A, or heterozygous, big A, or homozygous recessive, little a. The fitness of an organism is similar to its genotypic advantage. To calculate the fitness of an organism, you start with the largest number of individuals of one genotype. That becomes 100%, or 1. If we have possible alleles A, big A, and A, little a, the number of individuals with big A in one population is 5. The number of individuals with big A is 4, and the number of little a is 1. In example 1, we would see that we could take the number of individuals with one genotype and divide by the genotype of the most prevalent individuals. In this case, 5 is the most prevalent, or the highest set of individuals with a specific genotype. In this case, the fitness for big A is 5 out of 5, or 1. The fitness for big A is 4 individuals out of the possible 5 out of 5, so 4 out of 5, or 0.8. And the fitness for little a is 1 out of 5, or 0.2. This means the big A individuals have the greatest reproductive success. Big A follows with the second greatest success, and little a exhibits the least success. Let's look at a second example. If there's a population with 26 big A individuals, 31 big A little a individuals, and 32 little a individuals. What would the fitness of each genotype be? The genotype with the most individuals has 32 people. So little a is 32 out of 32, or 1. Big A little a is 31 out of 32, or 0.969. Big A is 26 out of 32, or 0.813. The greatest fitness is little a, followed by big A little a, and the least successful would be big A. There are various ways in which natural selection is represented. Typically, each selection type leads to an increase in reproductive success. The types we will look at are directional, stabilizing, diversifying, balancing, negative frequency dependent, intrasexual, and intersexual. To start, let's look at intersexual and intrasexual. Inter means between two groups. Intra means among the same group. The intersexual selection means the females are choosy and the males are promiscuous. The females look for the most virile or fit phenotypes. Because female parental investment is high, females want their offspring to survive and reproduce, so they want the best possible chance and will choose mates that seem the fittest. The males exhibit traits and behaviors to show off for the females. In birds, for example, the biggest or brightest plumage would be selected more by females. In frogs, the best song or mating call would be the most attractive to mates. Or special dancing maneuvers would entice females in certain mating fish. Intrasexual selection leads to competition between males. They fight over territory to have more access to females. They fight over females to eliminate competition. In lions, there is one male in a pride of female lionesses and cubs. A fight will ensue between two males, the existing one and the one trying to take over the pride for access to the females. If the original lion wins, he keeps the pride. If the new lion wins, he'll kill all the cubs and put the lionesses into estrus, causing them to become fertile again and allowing him to mate, improving his chance for reproductive success. Elephant seals and walruses also fight over harems of females, and elk with the largest antlers fight off competition. Lepidoptera, or moths, place a cement-style coating over the female's vagina after insemination to prevent other males from mating with her. The next form of selection is directional selection. This offers a shift in the allele frequency to an extreme phenotype. The direction of phenotypic selection usually stems from a radical change to the environment. Either variation in a food source, habitat, weather pattern will change what is being selected for and alter the desired trait or genotype, which alters the fitness of each individual. Directional selection can also be induced by mutation, something novel or new that confers a fitness advantage over other organisms and all of their offspring that exhibit the mutation. Directional selection may even lead to elimination of undesirable traits in the population. In this example, the mice are in a dimly lit forest. The brown mutation for mice arises, and suddenly the brown mice are conveyed the selective advantage. This shifts the reproductive success toward the dark phenotype instead of the normal population. Diversifying selection is also called disruptive selection. This is where two or more phenotypes are conveyed through a different selective advantage based on their environment. For example, if a group of plants is happily growing along and suddenly there's a chemical spill, most, if not all, the plants would die off in the chemical area. Those lucky to survive would be selected for because of their chemical tolerance. This creates an imbalance in the population. Those in the normal area have one selective advantage, and those in the chemical area have a different selective advantage, creating two separate, diversifying advantage selection curves. Stabilizing selection is going to tend toward the mean or intermediate phenotype instead of either of the extremes. This will lead to a decrease in the genetic diversity of individuals within a population. In this example, a flycatcher exhibits an optimal clutch size. There's a large parental investment for offspring food and protection. When the clutch is too small, they're more likely not to survive to reproductive age. When the clutch is too large, many will die off from starvation or inadequate care from parents due to lack of time. As well, the parent will suffer from prolonged exposure to the elements and predators, lowering their fitness or reproductive success for subsequent generations. Balancing selection is where the advantage is given to the heterozygous instead of another genotype. The quintessential example of this is seen in sickle cell anemia. Individuals with normal red blood cells carry oxygen freely through the blood. Individuals with sickle cell anemia have sickle-shaped red blood cells that are not good at delivering oxygen to the body, and often individuals will not live to reproductive age. The intuitive thinker would assume that selection would easily eliminate this deleterious allele from the population. However, sickled cells offer an advantage over regular red blood cells against a parasite that causes malaria. Individuals with heterozygous genotypes will maintain a greater resistance to malaria and still be able to survive to reproductive age. In populations in Africa where sickle cell is very prevalent and malarial infections are also very high, the heterozygous individuals have the advantage. This advantage is what keeps the allele for sickle cell in the population. The frequency is a rate at which something occurs. Frequency-dependent selection is the rate at which a genotype has higher fitness. Negative frequency-dependent selection are individuals with the most common genotype experiencing lower fitness than those of the least common. This is predicated on the idea that less known phenotypes of organisms have higher fitness because their rate of predation would be lower. So as the predator starts to notice all of these prey and sees these other colors, they are distracted by the colors but don't think they are the prey they are looking for. So those individuals have the advantage. Over time, they start to shift the allele frequency toward the other phenotype. So the predators become fixated on the secondary phenotype and pay less attention to the original. This is how the negative frequency dependent selection curve will continue. Students should be able to differentiate between intersexual and intrasexual selection. Students should be able to describe selective advantage, fitness, and reproductive success. Students should be able to understand how negative dependent selection works. Students should be able to identify a heterozygote advantage. Students should be able to describe the types of natural selection mechanisms. And students should be able to calculate fitness.